As if the McCrispy couldn't get any better, Bacon and Ranch just entered the chat. The Bacon Ranch McCrispy, available at participating McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Scott for Scots here. Do you hear that? Bring the mic in close. That's not how the grass should sound. There's weeds everywhere in this lawn. It's time to take action with Scott's Turf Builder Triple Action. It gets 3 jobs done at once. Kills weeds, prevents crabgrass, and feeds your lawn so it keeps growing strong. Ah, much better.
Get a bag of Scott's Triple Action today. It's guaranteed, or your money back.
Feed your lawn. Feed it.
Welcome to the family here on Purple Mafia. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Purple Mafia is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, PodMN, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Double Twist, Amazon Music. Thank you always for downloading and listening to this show. Always greatly appreciated. Yet another season concludes for the Minnesota Vikings. Well, was this my 13th season covering the Vikings of Purple Mafia, 14th season covering them in some way or another, paladinolive on YouTube back in 2007. And boy, is it really already that far in. 29th season covering the 29th season covering or watching the Minnesota Vikings starting in 92. A little bit of a late bloomer as a 13-year-old, really watching them full time as I just kind of catch them. But one way or another, it was just yet another one of those years you just chalk up as they missed the playoffs. And well, they finished 7-9, a 37-35 victory over the Detroit Lions. Yeah, we beat the Detroit Lions in Detroit. We swept them again, but unfortunately, again, 7-9, not good enough to make the postseason. Green Bay Packers looking good for that number 1 seed. We'll talk about that. The show release might not be until tomorrow morning, Monday morning. I don't know why I'm saying tomorrow, but yeah, Monday morning. So that would be why. To let the Washington Redskins, actually I just call them the Redskins, but yeah, Washington football team, Redskins, whatever. See if it's their final game as the Washington football team before next year they have a new name, logo, and colors and all that. Or if they continue into the postseason as division champs of the NFC East. We'll see what happens about that. Segment number 2 will kind of go over a lot of things, this and that, and the playoff seeding. And, of course, segment number 3 will be the same old when it comes to, in a good way, the, I don't know why I call it same old, but it's definitely no disrespect. Fan interaction, very much enjoyable. We get to hear from Mad Martin again, which is wonderful. Always appreciate him. Always appreciate Mad Martin and others out there as well. Probably going to be quieter, unfortunately, and it's going to get quieter and quieter now as we head into the off season. Whereas people will bring up the draft, people will bring up cut this guy, sign this guy, go this way in the draft, go that way in the draft at the end of the day. So we're just kind of back at that position again. Justin Jefferson, it's a new rookie record for receiving yards. He eclipses Randy Moss and Anquan Bolden for that. Congratulations. He obviously passed Randy Moss during the course of last weekend and eclipsed Anquan Bolden today for the all-time rookie receiving record. It's just too bad. It's in a wasted 7-9 season. Good quarterback, but a guy who makes weird mistakes. Like he threw the ball right into a defensive lineman. Luckily, the guy dropped it. That was kind of funny. Kind of funny, but not really. It was kind of scary, but threw it right into the defensive lineman. It was like, okay, that's one of those Kirk Cousins gaffes again. He was sacked 3 times, him being Kirk Cousins, had an awesome game. The kind of game where you come back and say, well, what's your problem with Kirk Cousins? He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, look at that. 405 yards, 3 touchdowns, quarterback rating 127.6. Are you kidding me? That's awesome. So what are you complaining about? Like, stop complaining. Stop it. Well, I don't know. Plays like that because, well, in other cases, at the most inopportune time, maybe that's in a big playoff game or something, he makes a mistake like that, and then kablooey we go. It's so much fun to watch when things like that happen. It's really fun and exciting, and you feel so warm and fuzzy, and no, you're actually just really pissed off and depressed. Oh, Cleveland, thank God they won. I'm happy for them. The Jets. Yeah, we'll get to that, and where the Vikings might wind up with their draft pick and everything. Yeah. Wow. Well, I guess I shouldn't be too surprised about one thing. Just like I mentioned about the 49ers last week losing to the Vikings. Vikings end up winning the division because the Niners basically stopped kind of worrying about it because they'd already clinched home field advantage back in '94. That was my first Viking game in attendance. I got to see the 49ers before they won the Super Bowl in '94. I got to see Steve Young and Jerry Rice for a few minutes anyway, at least a quarter. Washington and Philadelphia, though, still has playoff implications because the Washington Redskins, I just call them Redskins again, the Washington football team or whatever they are, might finish 7-9 if they're able to beat the icky, yucky, crappy Philadelphia Eagles tonight. And they'll be in the wild card with at least a semi-respectable 7-9 record. Otherwise, the New York Giants win the division with a 6-10 record. It's just fantastic stuff, right? Freaking crazy. So that's why the show's release will probably drag into tomorrow, unfortunately. So at least it's not a Monday night football game. That's all over. No more Monday night. That's the one thing. I mean, there are playoff implications in that game. If the Giants lost, Washington would have clinched it, I believe. Nope, Dallas. Dallas would have been still alive. So, yeah. So you're going to wait either way to see which crappy team finally wins the NFC East. Woohoo. It's almost like who cares? They're going to lose, right? But no, not necessarily. You don't know. I mean, Seattle went in the playoffs years ago with a 7-9 record, and they beat the Saints. So things happen. Let's get to the Vikings of Detroit. Detroit finishes 5-11. Vikings finish 7-9. So woohoo, we're third place. That's great. Third place doesn't mean anything in the NFC North because, you're third of 4 teams. That's not that great. Nice numbers, though, for a lot of people. Mike Boone had about 19 goal line smashes and didn't get in. And then ultimately went to Kirk Cousins, luckily. He got in with a quarterback sneak. That's nice. At least he got in. For a touchdown. Nice statistics for Kirk Cousins today, again. So 4 total touchdowns for Kirk. If you happen to have him on fantasy, I'm pretty sure most fantasy leagues would be done by now because week 17, certain players aren't going to play, like a Patrick Mahomes and stuff. Or if they play, it's just for limited time for the heck of it. Obviously the Super Bowls were probably wrapped up last week. Alexander Mattison, see, this is what I believe he could be. 21 rushes, 95 yards, 4.5 a carry. He's not going to do it every game, but, off and on, he's going to have solid games like that if he was a starting running back in the league. I know he's not Delvin Cook, but he's solid. Cook obviously, again, did not play today with the death of his father. So it was a family emergency, family issue type of thing. It ended up being the death of his father at a pretty young age. So that's disappointing. That's sad. Hall of Fame watch, Adrian Peterson, only 7 rushes, but scampered for 38 on one of the plays. Wound up with 63 total yards and got into the end zone for touchdown number 118. He is way up at the top with that one, but 4th overall in total rushing yards. And, of course, New York Jets Frank Gore also is number 3rd all-time. Adrian Peterson is actually 5th all-time, behind the legendary Barry Sanders. Think about what Barry Sanders' numbers would have been, though, if he played till he was 35 or something, like, Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith, Adrian Peterson, guys like that, Frank Gore. If Barry Sanders played till he was 35, he'd probably have all the numbers. He probably would. Justin Jefferson wound up with 133 today, did not get in the end zone, unfortunately. The ball was, it was a play that just didn't happen, unfortunately. Alexander Mattison had a 28-yard scamper for a touchdown, catch and go type of thing, screenplay. He went all the way, and he caught all of his targets. Mattison can play. He absolutely can. Total yardage for him today, 145. Not bad, eh? And again, that touchdown, 2 touchdowns total, so he would have been a good fantasy player if fantasy mattered today. Marvin Jones would have had over 200 yards today also, and 3 touchdowns if he didn't have a ball turned back on him. They believe that the referees believe that the ground basically caused the ball to bounce. So that means that he never had control of the ball, where Marvin Jones and the announcers would argue that it was actually the inside of his elbow, that elbow pit, you could say, is what when his elbow hit the ground, his arm pushed the ball upward, and then he was able to cradle it for a touchdown. So I don't know. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the Vikings actually won today, was to play like that, getting overturned, as Detroit ended up having to settle for a field goal at the end of the day with that one. It is what it is, It just kind of is what it is. I don't know how to feel. Dan Bailey, he may have to be looking for a job. We'll see what happens. He missed an extra point, like as wide as it gets. Missed a 46-yard field goal, kind of like the way a field goal misses, I guess. Field goal, the way kickers missed, I guess. He got the chip shot 23-yarder, and he made 4 out of 5 extra points, but that late one, which would have put the Vikings ahead by 9, ended up being a pretty disgusting miss. Like, we're talking just garbage. Absolutely garbage. Amir Abdullah had some moments today. He did get in the end zone again. One of those receiving little scampers, a la Chester Taylor type play. Scored 2 touchdowns this season, both against the Lions, so that's adorable. He got to do things against his former club. Harrison Smith got an interception, was very solid in the game. Anthony Harris on paper looks good with the 8 tackles and 2 pass deflections, but he's not good. The touchdown he gave up early on was pretty bad. He turned his back to the ball, and they talked about that, how he moved his head, and then next thing you know, it's just too late. Once you kind of turn away like that, you're bleeped. If the ball's coming in your direction, you're dead. If the ball's not coming in your direction, I guess you can get away with that. Like, who cares then? But, boy, that was a bad one. Again, on paper, it looks good. Anthony Harris did fine, but if you actually watch the game, as Mike Zimmer might say, he would say, you saw the game. Yeah, he didn't play well. Anthony Harris, chances of returning anywhere near the salary that he got this year with a franchise tag, it's not going to happen. If he comes back, it would have to be a big discount and pay cut and all that. And, well, we all know how athletes are. They want their money, and I understand why. You're risking your life. You're risking your health moving forward as like a 40-something-year-old. Once you get into the 40s, things start hurting that didn't hurt before in a big way. Even in your mid-30s, it starts hurting like hell, certain things. But concussions and ankles and knees and all that, boy, I can't even imagine how messed up that can get. I can talk about ankles and wrists a bit, but some of that other stuff, thank God, no. Thank you, Lord. Knock on wood. Okay. But it's kind of a fun game to watch if you like offense. It's kind of fun. Matthew Stafford was really good and all that. Really solid. Anthony Harris also dropped a gimme of an interception. He had 2 chances at it. He had it in his chest and the numbers, and then he had it possibly like the bounce, the ricochet before it hit the ground, and he dropped it both times, which is kind of funny. So Stafford would have actually had 2 interceptions. Cousins could have easily had 1 if defensive lineman on Detroit could have brought that sucker in. But that's just how that goes, unfortunately. Ragland looked pretty good on some of those run stops. Those goal line stops on Boone there. Boone had multiple opportunities. Boy, they wanted to get Boone in the end zone, didn't they? Mike Boone. He's a good, solid running back. He's another guy who could get good numbers if he was given an opportunity to have the ball more often, like a 3rd down running back or even a starter somewhere. But I don't know. Detroit's kind of like that right now, where he could maybe start for Detroit, depending on how you feel about DeAndre Swift. Adrian Peterson, very limited, but good game for him at the end of the day. It was a fun, entertaining passing game for Minnesota, but still solid running game for it with Mike Boone and Alexander Madison. Jefferson got to be featured, and he was fantastic. People talking about Jefferson, like wanting out because of this and that. It could be because of the big plays that they're denying him by running the ball too much, but they certainly target him a lot. I mean, they know who their star receiver is. Adam Thielen's good, and he's going to get the ball often, but not as much as Justin Jefferson. Unless it's just one of those games where they're over-covering Jefferson and Thielen's open all the time, then yeah. And Thielen's just flat out on his game. But Thielen might go out for 180 or something, with like 13 catches or something and a couple of touchdowns. That's how that goes. Man, what's up with Matt Prater and Dan Bailey? They're both missing extra points today. It's kind of sad. But no, Jefferson, obviously, wonderful future. The fear is that he could be another Diggs in terms of not like attitude necessarily, but just like frustrated with the offensive focus. Just run, pass, run, pass, where that could drive people crazy. Why not pass, run, pass, that kind of thing? Which just seems to be like the Kansas City Chiefs type of offenses and such. That's how that goes. Looks like the Rams are in the postseason. Arizona's kaput. Arizona is kaput. They're 8-8. Yeah, there I go bouncing around Chicago. I guess Chicago made it, didn't they? Huh. Well, the NFC's not set because you got to have your division champ first with Washington or the New York Giants. The New York Giants might actually make the playoffs. The New York Giants might make the playoffs if Washington loses to Philly tonight, which is kind of funny. I don't know. The defense obviously needs work. You've got to have guys come back. The offensive line needs a ton of work, obviously. Kirk Cousins puts up good numbers, this and that, but it seems like all the time when you need the big play, the big moment, he magically gets sacked. And he put up the good numbers today, but it's Detroit. I mean, this is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl, right? What if we're in a big game? This is Detroit, man. That's why you're getting the good numbers. But against, the Saints or something, okay, Kirk Cousins put up numbers against the Saints. So that's a bad example. But like a Tampa Bay, it just was, we got absolutely obliterated, this and that. Need some pass protection in the worst way. Does it involve Cleveland going to left tackle? Does it involve Cleveland staying there and the Vikings take a tackle? I guess it all depends on how the Vikings approach this draft. You got to go with the offensive line if possible. Pray to God for a quarterback if possible. Trading up, slipping around, this and that. Patrick Mahomes went 10th overall in the 2017 draft. He went 10th overall. So the best quarterback might not be the number one overall pick. As much as everyone believes the number one overall pick is the best quarterback in the draft, sometimes it just doesn't turn out that way. Sometimes it doesn't. Tim Couch, I thought, was a can't miss. I've brought up that name 100 million times. I might be driving you crazy with that one. But you could go on all day with all the quarterbacks that everybody thought was going to be a superstar, and then they just kind of weren't. Myles Garrett was a pretty damn good player. No question about that. In 2017, damn good defensive end, but I'm sure thinking the Cleveland Browns would have loved to have, they would absolutely love to have Patrick Mahomes instead of Baker Mayfield. I'm sure they would, even though Myles Garrett's a hell of a player. Mitchell Trubisky, number 2 overall. I mean, think about it. What if the Bears are Patrick Mahomes right now? Or the San Francisco 49ers? Because, oh my God, they fleeced the Bears. Oh, they fleeced them. Yeah, but you could have had Patrick Mahomes in San Francisco. You could have had him. San Francisco and Patrick Mahomes, who would have won the Super Bowl last year? It wouldn't have been the Chiefs. It would have been the 49ers for sure. For sure, because that defense is great, and you have the best quarterback in football. Under center, it's game over, man. San Francisco is a dynasty again, just like the good old '80s, and maybe the early '90s a little bit. Man, there were some damn good players in that draft, though, weren't there? Christian McCaffrey, super talented. Mike Williams, pretty good. Jamal Adams, the Jets. Okay, let's stay off of that for now. Leonard Fournette, not necessarily. He's on Tampa Bay. That's kind of funny. All of those guys could have had Patrick Mahomes. So it's like stuff like that. He went 10th, so it happens. It happens. How many quarterbacks went ahead of Patrick Mahomes? Only Mitchell Trubisky. See, it's funny how people aren't too excited. Oh, the quarterbacks are just okay. Watson obviously is pretty good, but is he a franchise-changing, super legend? Not necessarily. But once in a while, that quarterback, if you can identify him, good things could happen. Honest to God, and that's what you got to hope for. That's what you got to hope for Minnesota with the Fields and the, he could just go on forever. Offensive Rookie of the Year was Alvin Kamara, Tom Brady MVP, blah 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 blah, and the Super Bowl champion frickin' Eagles. Don't remind me. Don't go there. Don't go there. Vikings didn't even pick in the first round that year, did we? I don't think we did. I don't think we did that year. No. Isn't that great? Oh, yeah, yep, that was when we took, 17, of course. Yeah, no, we didn't because we traded for Sam Bradford. Eagles ended up getting whoever they got. It's Derek Barnett and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the Eagles did what they did. Who cares about the Eagles at this point? They won the Super Bowl. I'm sure they're happy. We ended up getting Cook. Yeah, that was, of course, before that wonderful season for Minnesota that didn't end well. So it's like you just kind of look at the history of the Vikings, the finishes, this and that, and it's just here we go again, another 7-9, and then we're good again, we're 11-5, but then we can't get past the divisional round if we get past the wild card round, or we get upset by frickin' Washington like in '92. That was just disgusting. I mean, that was the beginning of my pain and heartbreak with the Vikings. I really liked that '92 team, Rich Gannon, and then we put Sean frickin' Salisbury in instead of Rich Gannon, which Rich Gannon's still bitter about that one, and I understand that. Stupid move, Dennis Green. I don't know. Sean Salisbury is about as exciting as a Salisbury steak. They're not that good, at least in my opinion. Some people love them. I don't think that highly of them. It's like a meatloaf trying to be steak. It's not very exciting. That's about what Sean Salisbury was to me as a quarterback. So Rich Gannon was a bit more exciting, even though he wasn't spectacular with us. But look at what he wound up being with Kansas City, Washington. Obviously Washington first, Kansas City. and ultimately with the Oaktown Raiders, he was pretty damn good. Took him to the Super Bowl. League MVP. He was a hell of a quarterback. I mean, you saw something in Rich Gannon. I saw something in 92. I didn't see a superstar, but I saw a good player. Good quarterback. Decent. Better than Salisbury. See, it's stuff like that. You end up getting beat by freaking Washington, who wasn't anything special. Then they got trounced by San Francisco in the next round. 14-2 49ers, who ended up losing to Dallas. Yuck. Hated that. I wanted San Francisco. Hate Dallas. And we all know what happened the next 3 out of 4 years there. Yuck City. Freaking Dallas. Oof. Yep. Hope they never win a Super Bowl again. Ever. But no, I mean, it's just, that's how it goes. That was kind of, 92 was a perfect introduction to the Minnesota Vikings to yours truly. It really was. 11-5, very solid team, one of the best defenses in the league, takeaways up the you-know-what, Terry Allen, 17 touchdowns, one of the best running backs in football, Chris Carter emerging on the scene, showing everybody that he does a lot more than just catch touchdowns, Buddy Ryan. And, man, he ended up being a great player. Ended up being an absolutely great player. Again, you know, Todd Scott, all those good defensive players on that team. John Randall, Henry Thomas. You could go on all day. Al Noga. And you get beat by a meh Washington team. Yes, they won the Super Bowl the year before. Washington Redskins at the time, yes. They won the Super Bowl the year before, but they weren't even close to a Super Bowl contender. And it's just, that was the beginning. And that's pretty much the Vikings in a nutshell, that 92 season. All that promise, all that excitement. You finish 11-5, though, you probably would have gotten beaten by Dallas or San Francisco. That's the annoying part. You know, yay, we were the number 3 seed. 94, exciting. Wow, we got Warren Moon instead of Jim McMahon now. Here we go. Now it's for real. Terry Allen's back, too. And you even have Robert, well, whatever, forget that guy. But you have Terry Allen back. Robert Smith got better the next year. And what happened? What happened? We got, you know, we were okay, and we finished 10-6 and won the division, and meh. And, you know, we weren't going to beat San Francisco or Dallas, and everybody knew it. And we didn't even beat Chicago. Yeah, I mean, that's the Vikings. That's been the Vikings' history, and that's where this 7-9 stuff just kind of comes back to a head again. Yay, 7-9. So if you're going to suck and miss the playoffs, you finish 7-9. So you get to pick in the middle round, middle of the first round, rather than higher. But again, this is where Minnesota needs to make the move, so we're not like the Kansas City Chiefs in the past. So where the Chiefs finally broke out of, the same type of thing. The Chiefs were never really bad. They were always okay, kind of hanging around, and they'd make the playoffs and they'd choke. They'd have a great, whenever they have a great record, then they'd find a way to blow it in the division round or the conference final or whatever. And that's just kind of how that goes at the end of the day. When teams like the Chiefs and the Vikings were kind of like identical twins, the AFC and the NFC. But then they made that move. They made the daring move, and they went up with Patrick Mahomes, and well, now they might win multiple Super Bowls. In fact, odds are very much favoring the Kansas City's going to get at least 2 or 3 in the Patrick Mahomes era with Andy Reid and blah, blah, blah. Who knows how many Super Bowl rings Patrick Mahomes is going to get? Who knows? We don't know what the future holds, if he's going to stay healthy or what, blah, blah, blah. But odds are he probably will. And it's going to be an entertaining brand of football for many years for Chiefs fans alike. Miami didn't make it. Miami didn't make it. Miami didn't make it. Oh, that sucks. I feel bad about that, actually. Damn. They lost, didn't they? Miami didn't make it. Damn. I feel bad about that. We'll talk about that in the second segment. My apologies. But generally speaking, again, this was just another one of those seasons. It's cute that we won this last game. It was entertaining to a point. Nice to see guys play well. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of empty. And you're just kind of stuck hoping for the best, hoping this team can make the right move. If we're going to gamble, if we're going to make a trade, it's not even gambling, but kind of gambling. If you're going to be aggressive and try to make the big move, make the exciting move, make the right one, please, for the love of God. The Teddy Bridgewater one was interesting. Would he have gotten us over the hump? I don't know, but he would have made less mistakes, I guess, than Cousins. Might not have put up the sexy numbers like Cousins, but he might have made less mistakes, and maybe he could have gotten some more first downs, though he wouldn't have gotten with Kirk Cousins' lack of mobility, even though he showed it on occasion in certain games, like Jacksonville, which is kind of funny. Jacksonville. We barely beat Jacksonville. It's kind of funny. But 7-9, here we are, and here we are again. That's basically where Mike Zimmer started, 7-9, after a pretty yucky season the year before with a tie and what were we, like 6-9-1 or 5-9-1? That's what we were, right? 5-10-1. Pretty crappy year, but we had the tie with Green Bay where they had no quarterback and we had like no quarterback either that year. It was a pretty nasty year in 2013. Christian Ponder gave us the best chance to win. Remember that? That's where we stand. Right in the middle of mediocrity once again. Mediocrity to below average to above average. Just good, but not great. Mediocre, but not bad. It is what it is. What more is there to say? Well, I'll hear from you later on. And, of course, we'll look at the postseason now. Postseason preview. Look at some of the other games around the league, but mostly, of course, looking at how things stack up. And I'll get my predictions out there if humanly possible. At the end of the day. But before I step away, I better give out the awards for today's show. Anyway, the Fran Tarkington Award for today's particular show, it's got to be Kirk Cousins. It's going to be Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. Obviously, great numbers by Kirk Cousins. He had that weird mental gaffe, but great numbers by Kirk Cousins. It doesn't mean he's the quarterback, the answer of the Super Bowl team, but maybe if you have a great O-line and everything works out just perfect, just one time, okay, woohoo. There you go. Yay, maybe we'll win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins, and we have the best defense ever, too. And Jefferson's, like 1,800 yards and 20 touchdowns. That would be great, too. But Justin Jefferson's the other guy, obviously getting the Tarkington Award because of such an amazing rookie season, and again, a great performance today to go out and get it. Just showed that he wanted it, and he got it, boy. He got within striking distance last week, and he got it. Congratulations, Justin Jefferson. The Christian Ponder Memorial's got to go to Anthony Harris, and he's been a massive disappointment this season, which is foreshadowing the State of the Vikings 2021 as to what award he might be getting. He'll certainly be a strong candidate for it. It won't be a pretty award. It won't be a very pretty one. It's got a nice picture, a nice image of Christian Ponder sculpted into it. Yeah, good stuff. With that said, we'll take a quick break. Just urban legends are the urban legend of this show is, why do we always magically win games that we don't need? I don't know. We just do. With that said, I'll shut up now, and we'll be back for some playoff conversation after this. And we are back here on Purple Mafia, segment number 2, looking across the league into the playoff predictions and playoff seedings and all that good stuff. The AFC is completely set. The NFC just has Washington and the New York Giants, kind of like, it depends on if the Washington football team or Redskins or whatever you want to call them, Washington Red Tails, I'll call them the Washington football team, win against the Eagles. They're up 10-0 at this moment. So I'm going to keep going because at first I was thinking, oh boy, this could really mess things up, playoff implications, but it's pretty much the winner of the game is going to end up playing Tampa anyway. They'll be hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they're a division champ, even though the Bucs are 11-5. So I feel comfortable and confident about what's going to happen there to continue on rather than have to kind of sit and wait it out until tomorrow morning or something. There's just no necessary need for that. Anyway, we'll start in the AFC anyhow, and of course we'll probably get a better and better indicator as to the chances of that Washington football team actually getting that game. And I think it's probably going to be them. I'm going to assume it. So, of course, we're going to cite Yahoo Sports for all the brackets and all that good stuff. Again, the Giants still hanging by a thread, of course, with a win over Dallas, eliminating the Cowboys. Kansas City Chiefs, shock of the decade, have the number 1 seed in the AFC. But let's look over the scores as well, if humanly possible. I'd like to have that up a different way. I'm going to kind of bounce around real quick here just to get things started. But again, the Chiefs did wrap up the number 1 seed last week with their 14th win. Here we go. This is perfect. This is all I really need. Then I can just kind of scroll and keep going. Of course, so I thought Buffalo Bills. Let's go back over this way. It makes more sense. Yeah, I don't want to have all these other scores up there like the Timberwolves right now, which are flashing in the background. And they're playing very well against Denver. And now the Nuggets are on an 8-0 run. And yeah, you know how that goes. A rematch of the 1992 AFC title game, January 1993. Of course, Buffalo Bills beat the Dolphins in that game. Would have liked to see the Dolphins go to the Super Bowl that year. I like the Buffalo Bills right now. I'm amazed. 13-3. This probably could be the best Buffalo Bills team of all time. I mean, considering as good as those 4 teams were. Now, that might be the craziest thing ever, but this is, in a way, if only the stinking Chiefs weren't still there and weren't still super good, this could have been the best. This could be the best chance the Chiefs ever have of winning the Super Bowl. Excuse me, the Buffalo Bills have to win the Super Bowl because they absolutely can. They absolutely can do it this year. Matt Barkley is the backup quarterback. He got in the game as this was such an absolute blowout. Through 3 interceptions. You didn't get to see Fitzmagic out there, who's actually got over 30,000 yards passing. Pretty crazy throughout his career when I was messing around looking at history. Dolphins end up missing the playoffs 10-6, so they're the 8th seed. They're the infamous 8th seed in the AFC, which means absolutely nothing. 10-6. Kind of sad, but they got a chance at something. Buffalo Bills 13-3, though. They wrap up that number 2 seed. Absolutely kicking butt. Very happy for Stephon Diggs and others like that. Josh Allen, guys like that. Josh Allen's an actual MVP candidate, but there's a pretty good shot as to who's going to get it, and he's not the most liked guy in this town, unfortunately, but that's how it goes. Stephon Diggs, 76 yards, did not get in the end zone. Isaiah McKenzie with 2 touchdowns to lead the way in the scoring, along with Antonio Williams rushing in twice. Josh Allen, very, very good game. Even with the interception, still wound up with a quarterback rating of 122.3. Tua did throw for 361 yards in the blowout loss to the Buffalo Bills. The Bills just stomped all over them. They really did. 56-26. Let's move on. Another trouncing. Baltimore crushed Cincinnati to ensure themselves a playoff berth as well. Cincinnati dropped to 4-11-1 on the season, and they'll be looking for somebody to help protect the quarterback or whatever the heck they need. Wide receiver. Who knows? A little bit of anything right now in Cincinnati. Probably better defense. 38-3. Just an absolute stomping. Baltimore, despite their up and down season, make the playoffs just fine. Lamar Jackson threw 3 touchdowns and only 113 yards. Pretty funny. Because J.K., he was just kidding, right? J.K. Dobbins ran for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson, 97 yards rushing. Almost as many as he threw passing in the game. Jeez, the guy's crazy good. But, he obviously had some crappy moments earlier in the season. But that's just how it goes. Brandon Allen was pretty much a handoff machine in the game, and a game they were losing the whole time anyway. 48 yards passing, a couple INTs, a quarterback rating of 0 for Cincinnati. That's just about all you got to say. Baltimore whooped up on Cincinnati, and you just got to move on. They finished second place in that pretty strong, solid division. That's just how you go there. Cleveland Browns. Staying alive, staying alive. Third place, 11-5 record, third place. As they finish behind the old Browns, the new Browns finish behind the old Browns. Pittsburgh Steelers end up losing like 3 out of their last X amount of games here. Not a good finish to the season. I do not think the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the verge of a playoff run. 12-4 finish despite an amazing undefeated run earlier in the season. Chiefs just came roaring past them, but do not finish 15-1. We'll get back to that in a moment. Nice win for Cleveland as they kind of are going backwards into the playoffs as well. I don't know, man. It's just a crying shame. Baker Mayfield is average as it gets. Mason Rudolph, because the Steelers really just kind of didn't have a whole lot to play for in the game anyway. They'd wrapped up their division. They're going to be what they're going to be, kind of like the Vikings last year, as you got to see Sean Mannion throw for like 60 yards. Mason Rudolph's better than Sean Mannion. He threw for 315. Still almost won the game, if you can believe it. Chase Claypool, another big game for the rookie. Nick Chubb ran all over those Steelers. Baker Mayfield also 44 yards on the ground. They kind of played like they needed the game, and they damn well did. It's about time Cleveland got to the playoffs again, and it's the best record they've ever had with this new version of the Browns, the version that's kind of like the wicked not the wicked, but the red-headed stepchild. I don't know. How about, let's call it orange helmeted stepchild, which is what they've been pretty much compared to the old Browns. Even though I'm a huge fan, I really like Cleveland, man, and I want them to win. Love their uniforms, absolutely love their uniforms, and want to see them succeed. Yeah, hopefully they can get their heads on straight and make a nice little playoff run here. We'll see. Cody Parkey, well, he made all of his kicks, and Matthew Wright also. Matthew Wright was the right choice. But Cleveland won and made the playoffs. That's good. New York Jets versus the New England Patriots. The Jets end up finishing 2-14 in what will be Mr. Gaze's last coaching gig in the NFL, most likely his last day with the Jets anyway, but probably his last coaching gig in the league. 2-14, just end the season, and they just ended the season. Now we could put that past tense. And the Patriots are just like Minnesota. Hey, Patriots and Vikings both are 7-9. all is right with the world. You know, everything will be just fine. You got Cam Newton and Kirk Cousins leading the way, and Cam Newton had a great game, and he whooped up on the Jets, and the Vikings whooped up, Kirk Cousins whooped up all on Detroit. I'm feeling so good, you know. I mean, it's just, you know, the Vikings just, hey, you know, Kirk Cousins just threw 4 touchdown passes, 300 touchdown passes and 400 yards. And you're talking about like he's bad? No, I'm not saying he's bad. I'm saying he's not good in big games. Sure, he's going to whoop up on Detroit and teams like that. Of course he's going to do that sometimes. No, yeah, of course he's going to do that, just like Cam Newton kind of was all over this Jets team. Sure, because the Jets are the Detroit Lions of their division over there in the East. There's a guy named Lamar Jackson on the Jets defense. That's kind of funny. It's hilarious. Whatever. This game means absolutely nothing. It's just the Patriots finished 7-9 because, you know, it's still a game. You still got to go out and play. You know, you still got to go out and play. So, you know, we're gonna give it everything we got. That's great. That's great. I'm glad they won for that. Go team. The Giants almost became the worst division champion in the history of the NFL with a 6-10 record. 6-10, and you make the playoffs. Well, if the Washington football team keeps doing what they're doing, they're going to win the division after such a putrid, horrible, disgusting start to the season. They're going to have those kind of cool-looking uniforms and collector's item shirts and everything, and collector item hats and helmets and blah, blah, blah. Those things are going to be going into the postseason for at least a week to host the Tampa Bay Bucks. We'll see what happens there. New York Giants, at least I think so. Unless the New York Giants are going to end up being the worst division champ in history. They beat Dallas, surviving that. Otherwise, Dallas might have been the playoff team tonight. The Dallas Cowboys. What a nice comeback on a putrid, disgusting season for the Cowboys. It's funny. All 3 of these teams made like miraculous comebacks. Everybody early on thought it might as well be the Eagles at like 7-9. And then Dalton had a disappointing game against the Giants. And Daniel Jones had a pretty good game. It was kind of a playoff atmosphere between 2 teams with like double-digit losses. It's just great. Playoff atmosphere with 2 teams with double-digit losses. Yeah, just shows you. I mean, the Vikings might have made the playoffs. In fact, we would have. Pretty good chance we would have made the playoffs if we played in the NFC East. It's just funny. With that defense, you know, 6 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns total against the Saints rushing. Make the playoffs. Yeah, let's just move on. Congratulations to the Giants temporarily. We'll see what happens. Bucks end up finishing second. In the NFC South behind the dirty, hated New Orleans Saints with their greatest running back ever. We know. And then the Falcons suck balls. Okay, that was really inappropriate. They end up finishing 4-12 in a season where it's like, obviously, they're looking for their new coach. Unless they're going to give Raheem Morris the go, but I don't think so. I don't think they're going to go that direction. I got to think they're going to hire somebody completely different. No offense, it's just he's just a mediocre coach going against his former team of the Bucks. I don't know. He's just okay. Brian Hill, how about that? Brian Hill out of Wyoming, huh? Wyoming's finest. 62-yard scamper that did not get in the end zone because he's not that fast. He's just solid. 94 yards total for him. Good job, Brian. Todd Gurley, same amount of rushes and managed 18 yards. Oh, Todd Gurley. Man, he was a superstar just a couple years ago. What the heck? It's amazing how quickly these guys drop off. Except for Adrian, man. Tom Brady's been putting up historic numbers the past couple weeks. And hopefully, for his sake, hopefully it's an indicator as to where things are headed. Because if things are headed in this direction, the Bucs look amazing. I think there's a really good shot this team makes a playoff run this year. And I absolutely believe they will. They have a passing attack that is unbelievable, and Ronald Jones is a pretty good running back, and their defense is pretty good too. Oh, and by the way, they have Leonard Fournette, who was taken 4th overall just a few years ago. Dominican Sue, Jason Pierre-Paul. Who's to say this team can't make a massive playoff run this year? Maybe even go to the Super Bowl. They just might. It might be the Battle of the Bays. In fact, just might be the Battle of the Bays. It just might be. Not that I'm foreshadowing anything, but it just might be. Antoine Winfield and all those good guys. Unfortunately, Tyler Johnson's buried beneath the earth pretty much when you have Antonio Brown, who 138 yards today, targeted 14 times, 2 touchdowns. Chris Goodwin, 2 touchdowns, 133 yards. Mike Evans, who had that unbelievable game against us. Rob Gronkowski, who's had all kinds of spectacular numbers throughout his career, and he's been a Super Bowl hero. And young Mr. Tyler Johnson, hopefully he can get something. Ryan Suckup, the former Chief, maybe going against his former team in the Super Bowl. You just never know. You just never know. But the Bucks, looking good at the right time. We'll see what happens. We'll talk about the Pack in Chicago later in a second. Las Vegas versus Denver, another one of those games that doesn't mean a whole lot. It's just two teams that aren't going to make the playoffs, and Las Vegas finished 500. Woohoo! And they beat a crappy Bronco team. Sorry, Gerald String, who likes the Broncos. Terrell Davis is not walking through that door. John Elway is not walking through that. Okay, you get the idea. Drew Lock threw a lot of numbers, threw for a lot of yards and everything. I thought the whole thing just crashed on me again. Because I almost lost the file for the show, by the way. But luckily it was recovered. Just so you know, the first segment was almost lost. Think about that. Derek Carr with another Derek Carr type game. Lots of yards, multiple interceptions, multiple touchdowns. Carson Palmer type performance again. You know, so one week he's good, the next week he's not that good. Josh Jacobs, multiple touchdowns. Melvin Gordon had a few moments, obviously pretty good. Drew Luck threw a ton of yards and actually had a great game. His best game so far as a pro, pretty much, against a hated rival with the Las Vegas Raiders. Jerry Jeudy with 140 yards receiving. Good for him for the Denver Broncos. Let's quickly move on because it doesn't matter at this point. They 8-8 Raiders, 5-11 Broncos. That's all there is to say. Indianapolis, hosted Jacks. They hosted Jacks and they finished 1-15. And well, there you go. Trevor Lawrence, welcome to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Congratulations, unless he's going to demand a trade to the Giants or the Jets or something. We'll see what happens. Who knows? But they finished 1-15, and they almost beat the Vikings in U.S. Bank Stadium. Wrap your head around that. Indianapolis Colts 11-5. The AFC is outstanding. They are the worst. They would have missed the playoffs. Would you believe that? They would have missed the playoffs if not for the 7th seed. That's how crazy tough the AFC is. 7th seed. They're going to be a tough opponent for the Buffalo Bills coming up next week. It's going to be interesting. But they beat the Jaguars, and nobody got hurt, I hope, for the sake of the Indianapolis Colts. They decided to run the ball, and it worked very, very, very favorably for the Indianapolis Colts. Jonathan Taylor ran for 253 yards on the ground. That's amazing. Just amazing. Naheem Hines with 6 catches on those screen passes, one up with 50 yards. No touchdowns. Unfortunately, he also ran for 17. But Jonathan Taylor was the story in that game. Fascinating stuff. 253 yards on the ground. Still didn't get 6 touchdowns or anything, though, so he sucks. You know, how did the LA Chargers finish 7-9? They felt like they were going to be like 4-12 or something this year. They finished 7-9. And it still doesn't mean anything, does it? It doesn't mean anything. They're just 7-9 and they're peaking later in the draft. Kansas City did a 94 Niners and realized, 15-1's cute and everything, but we don't want to see people getting hurt. So they went very much second and third team here throughout the entire game. Congratulations to Justin Herbert. I guess he's probably the rookie of the year. It's between him and Justin Jefferson. It's an absolute honor to have a Minnesota Viking in the top 2 for rookie of the year conversation, but it's probably going to be Justin Herbert. 3 touchdowns against the Chiefs' second team, I guess. Chad Henne, the former Dolphin and Jaguar, who's got a pretty decent arm. A couple touchdowns. Actually, pretty good game, for him when you consider it. Solid game. Darwin Thompson. Sounds like an old running back, like Darryl Thompson in the Gophers, right, years ago. But if my head is screwed on straight, he led the team, the Chiefs, that is, in rushing and receiving. Again, they went absolutely second and third team in this game. They were very careful not to get injured because when you have a team that's this good, you don't want to have somebody have an ankle rolled up and then he's done. It's snapped and that's it. So the Chiefs finished 14-2, number 1 seed in the AFC. Blah blah blah. They'll be off next week. We'll see you choke against the Buffalo Bills or something. We'll see. Hopefully the Bills do beat them. Honestly. Arizona, playoff implications between their division rival Los Angeles Rams, and the Los Angeles Rams did what LA teams do. They won. LA teams always seem to win games like this. The big city always seems to knock down the somewhat smaller market of Arizona. It's not that small, but it's smaller than Los Angeles because everybody except New York is smaller than LA. 10-6 finish for the NFC champions of 2018, looking to make some kind of magic happen, which I truly doubt, but it's a good team, super good defense. You don't see the explosive offense. Jared Goff is not. See, that's another one. He's the number 1 pick in the draft who isn't that great. He's not that great. That's just a fact. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how great Trevor Lawrence is going to be. We'll see. I don't know. That year was a weird one, wasn't it, in 2017? It was a weird draft. Hopefully the Vikings get the right quarterback somehow, some way. But the Los Angeles Rams end up getting it done. And it was not Jared Goff. It was John Wolford in the game. But generally speaking, Jared Goff has not had big moments. Jonathan Wolford, I guess. Kyler Murray was banged up and came back. And it just wasn't the Cardinals' day at all. And it was a pretty boring game, actually. It was pretty crappy. It's a big mess. 18-7. And the LA Rams make the playoffs without Jared Goff. My bad. And you move forward there. Seattle over San Francisco barely in the Bay. San Francisco 49ers finished 6-10. And they'll be looking at a quarterback or something. We'll see what happens. But they don't seem to be too infatuated with Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. They were so good last year. San Francisco was awesome last year. And I enjoyed it. I wanted them to beat the Chiefs. And they almost did. And they didn't. And Seattle finished 12-4. A team that a lot of people have winning the NFC this year. I don't know about that. I actually did have them playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl and losing to the Kansas City Chiefs, who would go back-to-back in the Super Bowl. Might have a different team in the NFC going to the final. My God, what happened to the Wolves? Once Denver went on that cute little run, that was it. Oof, 121-104 right now. Yeah, well, that's why I was able to just switch over. You could just feel it. You could feel the tidal wave coming. What a great fourth quarter, Wolves and Nuggets, and it was not great. C.J. Beathard, yep, he's better than that frickin' Mullins, but he's not that great. Russell Wilson was careful but solid in the game. Another game with just not good numbers, really. Just kind of, luckily they spread the ball all over, which is cute and everything. San Francisco and Seattle, but bottom line, Seattle won, and they're in the playoffs and blah blah blah. New Orleans Saints, I believe they're the number 2 seed. They should be. Carolina just stinks, too. They're 4-11. Not sure what they're going to do with Teddy there. Teddy had some good moments and then got more and more mediocre as the season continued. But also, again, with no Christian McCaffrey, the Carolina Panthers aren't going to be that dangerous. They're just not. Because they don't have a whole lot of other spectacular weapons. They're 12-4 New Orleans Saints, 12-4 Seattle Seahawks. May they both lose in the first round. That would be terrific. I don't care who beats them. As long as they lose in the first round, I'll be happy. 33-7. That's just pretty much all you have to say there. Drew Brees putting up 201 yards. Good numbers. Again, his throwing arm is pretty much kaput. So we'll see what happens. I don't think they're going to any Super Bowl. Oh, yeah. Carolina, just awful, putrid game. 2 interceptions by Teddy. 3 interceptions by somebody called P.J. Walker. P.J. Walker, who was not good earlier in the year either. 5 interceptions by the Carolina quarterbacks. That is rotten. Rotten to the core. Tennessee Titans wrapping things up and making the playoffs, screwing around with a crappy 4-12 Houston Texans team, but they're 11-5 and they won their division. Did the Tennessee Titans? Aren't we happy? I guess. Well, they won their division and they're in the playoffs. I'm happy for them. They're the 4th seed, and we'll talk about that playoff seeding now. Sorry for spending so much time on this, but well, there's the preview segment that is no longer existing for the Vikings, so we get to talk about the playoffs instead. Tannehill put up respectable numbers, Deshaun Watson much more, except for the interception. A.J. McCarron, remember when he was the exciting prospect to be a starting quarterback somewhere? Remember? He's that backup now for Houston. Derrick Henry ran for 250 yards, and he eclipsed the 2,000-yard mark. Ryan Tannehill threw for 1 touchdown and ran in 2 in the game. A.J. Brown also 151 yards receiving. Some spectacular numbers on the Tennessee side. Man, beautiful stuff. Derrick Henry, 250 yards. Brandon Cooks also for Houston, Texas, 166 yards and 2 touchdowns in the year. David Johnson with probably his best game of the year pretty much. 6 yards a carry, 84 yards and a touchdown. Good job, David. It's about frickin' time you did something. It really is. I think that's it except for Washington versus Philadelphia, which I need to switch the channel because the Timberwolves just got demolished in that 4th quarter after playing super well. That figures. Well, through the Timberwolves, they lost. And, of course, the Washington game's on a commercial. That's great. Tennessee's in. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Are they going to make a run like they did last year? Well, if they do, it'll probably end the way it did last year as well. Maybe not, though. Maybe not. I'd rather see Tennessee. Come on. Beat Kansas City, somebody. I have no major dislike for Kansas City. I just want to see somebody else win. I don't want a dynasty. The only dynasty I liked was the Patriots. And even then, I could understand the people being like, okay, it's somebody else's turn, move on. I could understand that, as long as it wasn't Seattle beating them, because I can't handle that. I'll just lose my mind. I hate the Seahawks. Just one Super Bowl for the Seahawks was way too much for me. Yep, because I'm just weak. I can't handle it. Looks like Philly has the ball, trailing 10-7. So okay, I'm sure Philadelphia would enjoy spoiling things and messing it all up, but that's Philly because they're jackasses. AFC, Kansas City is the number 1 seed in the AFC. Shock of the year. They will not play next week. Buffalo Bills will host the Indianapolis Colts. Seed number 2 versus seed number 7. I predict the Buffalo Bills to win that game and win it pretty easily. Buffalo Bills should beat the Indianapolis Colts, and I'll be very surprised if they don't. I think it's an absolute bummer that Buffalo doesn't have a first-round bye. I think they deserve it. 13-3 team, they deserve a first-round bye, and they don't get one. But take care of business. Don't screw around with that Colts team. Take care of business. If they lose that game, that's going to sting. That'll suck. It'll be kind of like what Baltimore did last year. But Baltimore was the number 1 seed last year, not Kansas City. Don't forget. Once Baltimore was out, it was like KC all the way from there. Boy, that's going to be an interesting matchup coming up. Pittsburgh versus Cleveland is going to be interesting as well. I am 10,000% rooting for the Cleveland Browns. But as long as Roethlisberger's healthy and a lot of those weapons on offense are healthy, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in this Cleveland team to go into Pittsburgh and win, even without the fans in the stands and all that crap. I don't have a lot of confidence, and I really want Cleveland to win this game. Oh, I want Cleveland to win bad. I'm guessing they won't, though. And that sucks. Oh, I want Cleveland to win. The crappy part is, though, even if they do, they'd have to play the frickin' Chiefs the next week, which is probably a funeral anyway. Cleveland, I want you to win a playoff game really bad, but I'm picking Pittsburgh, and I don't want to. It pains me to say it. Tennessee versus Baltimore, and this time Tennessee's got home field. Both teams are 11-5. Rematch of the AFC title game in 1999. And nope, it was not the AFC title game. It was the divisional round in 1999, but it was the real AFC title game because whoever won that game was going to beat the Jaguars. I agree with, I've talked about this 100,000 times. And, of course, last year, that huge playoff game, that division round where Tennessee had the upset in the first round over the Patriots, which was pretty crazy. And then they knocked out because the Patriots were the number 3 seed last year, which was trouble for them. They knew they were in trouble when they didn't get that first round bye. Brady seems to never win those. We'll see if he takes care of business with Tampa, though. Odds are against, but we'll see. I think he'll win the first round, though. Baltimore, I think I like the momentum of Baltimore, but Tennessee's got some momentum as well. Like both of them looking really good going into the postseason. I'm going to pick Baltimore. I've got a good feeling about the Baltimore Ravens. I love the way they've played the last X amount of games. John Harbaugh is a great coach, but so is Vermeil. I just called him Vermeil. God. Mike Vrabel. I don't know why I keep stuttering and stammering around that one. I keep calling him Dick Vermeil or Mike Vermeil. It's Mike Vrabel. So, yep, Vrabel, the former New England Patriot, this and that. Both teams are so well coached. I mean, Harbaugh's got a Super Bowl, and he did a hell of a job doing it. Vrabel's a great coach. I think he could be a Super Bowl coach as well, with a teeny bit better personnel. But of course, you got the best running back in the world. He is better than Dalvin Cook because, well, he stays healthy. He's better than Dalvin Cook. It's just bottom line. Cook was healthy today, but unfortunately, family emergency. It is what it is. But I think Henry's a little better. He is unbelievable. Either one, though, you're not going to go wrong with either one as your running back. That's going to be probably the best game of the weekend. You got to think Buffalo's going to be all over Indy, and I got a feeling the Pittsburgh-Cleveland game is not going to be a pretty day either. And I'm sad. I hope Cleveland comes out and kicks some ass and they hang on to the lead and win. I am praying for that, but I'm picking Pittsburgh, unfortunately. Baltimore, Tennessee should be some epic stuff. Baltimore owes Tennessee one from last year, but of course Tennessee, there is a winning attitude in that Tennessee Titans team. If Baltimore wins, they'll have to damn earn it, and I'm going to actually pick them to win that game. I'm probably going to be wrong, but I will pick the Baltimore Ravens to defeat the Tennessee Titans. So that's the 5th seed moving on, the number 2 seed moving on. The number 2 seed would then host the Baltimore Ravens. Ooh, boy. Baltimore and Buffalo. That is a tough freaking matchup. Baltimore would have to host either... Man, that's tough. But I guess division round is always hard anyway. Pittsburgh would... No, Buffalo would host Pittsburgh. Excuse me. Buffalo would host Pittsburgh. And then the other winner would actually go to Kansas City, which could be a very dangerous game for the Chiefs. I think Buffalo will beat Pittsburgh soundly in the division championship and go to the AFC title. Division round, not division championship. They'll beat Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh would be beaten easily by Buffalo, I think. They'll win by double-digit points and go to the AFC title game. Chiefs versus Baltimore or Tennessee, I think either one of them could knock the Chiefs off. I got a feeling they could, but I'm going to have Buffalo and Kansas City in the AFC title game. Kansas City would beat Baltimore or Tennessee, which I am picking Baltimore. But don't get me wrong, though. If anybody could upset the Chiefs, it's one of those two in that division round. Obviously, Pittsburgh couldn't do it. Cleveland couldn't do it. Buffalo absolutely can knock off the Chiefs, though. And I will have the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. Yes, I have the Buffalo Bills defeating the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. I have the Buffalo Bills beating the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. I like the momentum. The whole year I picked the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. They probably will, but I'm going to be gutsy here in the first round. And, of course, as things change, this and that, then I adjust the predictions going forward. But I have the Buffalo Bills winning the AFC right now. I just have that vibe. This is the original picks going into the postseason. The original pick at the beginning of the year was the Chiefs versus the Seattle Seahawks, which actually might not be inaccurate. We'll see. But so Chiefs versus Seattle, with the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl at the beginning of the season. But here at the beginning of the postseason, Buffalo versus KC in the AFC title game instead of Kansas City versus, I think I had Baltimore and Kansas City winning. I'm going to have the Buffalo Bills representing the AFC in the Super Bowl, and we all know how I feel about the AFC versus the NFC right now. So, yeah. Get your parade route started, Buffalo. Green Bay Packers win the NFC. Number 1 seed in the NFC. Packers won. Yeah, that's great. Saints versus Bears, rematch of the NFC Championship game in 2006. Yep, where the Bears put a good trouncing on the New Orleans Saints. Hopefully they do it again. We'll see what happens there. But right now, you can't really go against the New Orleans Saints. If Mitchell Trubisky pulls off a nice upset in that Bears defense, I mean, obviously, if the Bears defense is what would win the game, not Mitchell Trubisky. Maybe Mitchell Trubisky has the game of his life and everything, but that Bears defense, that pass rush on Drew Brees, that's how the Bears could beat the Saints, and they absolutely can. I just don't think they will. I think the Saints win the freaking game, which sucks, but I think they do. Rams versus Seahawks is going to be a very interesting battle. Of course, if the Bears won, they'd go to Green Bay, and we all know what happened there. Pretty much the same thing that happened today. I didn't even look at that game. I didn't even look at it. So I went over it because of the NFC North. I'll go back to that real quick. 35-16. The Bears got trounced all over. They finished 8-8, but they make the playoffs. That's good for them. Packers 35, and it looks like Aaron Rodgers is the most valuable player. Looks like it. That's what they're saying anyway. 4 touchdown passes. Yeah, it's just almost perfect. Trubisky about what I expect next week. No touchdowns, a turnover, mediocre quarterback rating. This is about what I expect. Some numbers here and there, but that the freaking Saints will just be better, and they'll put up. It'll be a pretty lopsided game, like 34-21. It's going to be something like that. But that sucks. I don't like the Saints at all. I'd rather see the Bears win that game, but the Saints will win. Seattle versus the Rams will be a very epic, lower scoring game. Well, put it this way: if the Seattle Seahawks offense, it's a great offense versus a great defense, basically. Seattle's defense is not good anymore, and the Rams' offense is not good anymore. The Rams' defense is fantastic. Seattle's offense is fantastic. So it's whichever fantastic side gets the job done, and whichever sucky side shows up a little better than the other. Most likely, Seattle's going to win the game. I mean, the Rams are a pretty weak postseason team, I think. I mean, they are just kind of, they barely made it. And I don't know. They don't look good to me. The defense is really good. And that's what would get the job done if they can frustrate and fluster Mr. Russell Wilson. But I have Seattle winning the game, and I don't want to. It's going to be a fairly close game, but Seattle will win in that division battle. Washington, I'm going to assume they're going to win the game, but maybe it's the Giants. But at the end of the day, whoever it is, it's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win the game, and I think soundly. I think Brady continues his run. He keeps putting up the numbers and all of that. The Giants have their moments. Looks like Philly's ahead. Philadelphia's ahead now. But Washington has the ball with those cool-looking uniforms. I like them. I think they should keep those colors with their new... I like it. I like it. Because it looks different than the Redskins. It's similar colors, but not quite the same. Ron Rivera, we'll see what he does. I hope they win tonight, actually. Just because, even though the Giants have some interesting players, it'd be funny to see a 6-10 team win a division and make the postseason. But regardless, Tampa Bay is going to beat up the crap out of whichever team they play. Tampa Bay got a nice draw there in the first round, so I guess the Bucs did get a first round bye, kind of, as long as nobody gets hurt. If you get a nice sizable lead, take Brady the frick out of the game, and whoever else. I think that offense is going to be really fun to watch in the playoffs. I really do. The unfortunate news is, with the 5th seed, and unless the Rams somehow beat Seattle, Tampa Bay would have to go to Green Bay. So that kind of sucks. Tampa Bay would have to go to Green Bay. Oh, man, that sucks. So my hopes and my predictions for that are going to be dashed a bit. Boy, Chicago or LA, let's go. One of you guys knock off Seattle or New Orleans. I'll be very happy for multiple reasons. I hate both of those teams. But unfortunately, the odds are they're probably going to win, and that means Tampa Bay has to go to Green Bay right away, which will be an awesome battle, awesome matchup. It's going to be some spectacular stuff. I got a sneaky feeling that Green Bay's not going to win a playoff game this year. I don't know. Or they're going to go to the Super Bowl. It's going to be, they're either going to put it this way, Green Bay's either going to get upset right away or they're going to the Super Bowl, and we'll say what happens. Yeah, you can kind of guess what's going to happen, though. I don't think they're going to beat the Chiefs or the Bills. Oh boy, that's going to be fascinating. It's a fascinating thought process here. Come on, Rams, beat Seattle. You can do it, right? You can do it. It's a matchup that's been very up and down the past few years. It's been all over the place. Even when Seattle's good or the Rams are good, Seattle's always good. Unfortunately, the Rams got good finally a couple of years back. I want to see how those two teams played. That's the one thing the one thing that's in the Rams' favor is the fact that it's a divisional game. You know each other super duper well, this and that, and funny things happen in these divisional games. They did beat Seattle on November 15th, 23-16. And that's about what I'd expect. If they're going to beat Seattle, it'll be something like that. And they lost very recently, right after Christmas there on the 27th last week, 20-9. Yep, I remember now. That's when the Rams' hopes of making the playoffs got dashed pretty badly until today. It was like, they might miss. And they lost to the Jets. The Rams lost to the freaking Jets, and they screwed around with Arizona today. Yeah, they're not going to beat the Seahawks. They're just not. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will go to Green Bay. It'll be the Battle of the Bays in the second round, not the conference final. Tampa Bay and Green Bay. Oh, I don't know. I think Green Bay's probably going to win that game. Probably. I'd love to see Tampa win that game, and I will be rooting for them 1,000%. Because if they win that game, I think they go to the Super Bowl. In fact, the winner of the Bays will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. That is my thought process right now. You will see Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady in the Super Bowl against Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and those other great players for the Buffalo Bills. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be one of the Bays. Seattle, New Orleans, you're not going to the Super Bowl. It's not happening. One of you will get to the NFC title game, but it'll lose to the Bucs. That's basically what's going to happen. Seattle and New Orleans will have to play each other in the second round, which is going to be fascinating. The divisional round, fascinating matchup, to say the least. I think the Saints win that game, actually. I kind of like the way they played the past 2 weeks. I don't know who couldn't. Seattle, it's like they're good, but they're flawed. They're a flawed team. They're kind of a mess. Good record, partially because of the early start and all that. And, Russell Wilson's that good and all that. But I think the Saints go to the NFC Championship game, but they will lose to the Packers. They'll lose to the Packers. The Packers are going to beat the Bucs. The Packers are going to beat the Bucks. Yeah, see, if Tampa played the Saints, I think the Saints would go to the Super Bowl, actually, now that I think about that. If the Saints get past Seattle. Otherwise, Seattle, I think Tampa or Green Bay could beat them. But I will have the Packers and the Bills in the Super Bowl. I think the Packers have enough in them to win 2 games against Tampa and or Seattle and New Orleans. Seattle and or Seattle, New Orleans, whatever the heck that is. I'm going to have Green Bay and New Orleans in the NFC Championship game with the Packers going to the Super Bowl. Probably should almost pick Seattle, but no. It's going to be the Saints. Unless the Bears knock them off, which would be beautiful. Then Green Bay would definitely beat the Bears in that scenario. And then they would play Tampa in the conference. I think Tampa would beat Seattle in the conference. But it's going to be the Packers in the Super Bowl. But they will lose to the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills end the drought, and there will be only one team left that has been to 4 Super Bowls and is 0-4, and that is your purple and gold Minnesota Vikings. Buffalo Bills will win the Super Bowl this year, in my opinion. I have a feeling about that Bills team. I could be wrong, but they look absolutely fantastic. I think they have it. I think they have a chance to be absolutely great. It'll be beautiful. Maybe the Packers beat them, but I don't think they will. But they could. They could. It's not impossible. All you have to do is get there and hope for the best. And if it's your day, if Rodgers is unbelievable that day, then I guess the Bills lose. But I think right now the Bills actually would beat the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl between 2 13-3 teams, the Pack and Buffalo. Packers were 13-3 last year. They've actually really responded nicely this year, haven't they? After a very disappointing loss to the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers last year. It was just an absolute butt kicking when you consider how decent they were, and you saw how the way they got absolutely obliterated. It was kind of a shame, actually. Not trying to be a jackass. It just was disappointing, honestly. You wanted a better football game at the very least, and it just wasn't. Packers represent the NFC. Bills represent the AFC. Buffalo Bills win the Super Bowl. With that said, we'll take a quick break, and we will get to fan interaction.
Happy holidays, Joey. I hope you had a good Christmas, as did everybody out there in Purple Mafia land. What a beautiful Christmas present our defence gave us, 52 points. Wasn't that absolutely wonderful? With a defensive-minded head coach. I enjoyed the first half in the sense that it was a game where our offence had to keep up with theirs because neither team particularly had much in the way of defence. I think what's irritated me more since that game, and I mean that game was shocking in the respect of how bad our run defence was. In fact, if you look at the last sort of few seasons, when it comes to sort of December games, our defence does tend to go down the toilet. I don't know if they are perhaps practising too hard, old school, let's get out there and work out the issues. Well, they're clearly not working when it comes to December football. I think in the last 3 years we are something like 5-9. So putting yourself into the playoffs on that kind of momentum is not really going to work, is it? What irritates me more, Joey, is social media side of it, where you've got these fans that, I don't know, they just totally buy into everything the Vikings organisation say. And will say to you, oh, we were missing most of our defensive starters this season. Yeah, okay, I get it. And then it's like, we'll have them all back next year, so everything will be hunky bloody dory. Maybe I'm more of a pessimist when it comes to Viking football than an optimist. But looking at that, look at Hunter. He's already said that he wants to be paid the most money at his position in the NFL. So you've got to pay Hunter quarterback money when we've already got Cousins on the team? I don't think so. So he's gone. Hughes, he's been a big letdown this year. Franchise tag, I think he'll be gone as well because, again, I don't believe we can afford him. So where does this leave us? Yes, we've got 1 or 2 other players out, but there's still some glaring holes in that defence. The secondary really hasn't got up to where I think perhaps Zim hoped it would get up to. So there's question marks at the corners. In fact, there's so many question marks on that defence, it's truly frightening. And then let's not forget the offence and the O-line, which, quite frankly, is still, other than a couple of those players, bloody useless. Getting pushed back, pushed into Cousins. I don't know how you fix all that in one draft, because there's not money there for free agency, that's for sure. So no, I'm not overly optimistic. I hope they rest everybody against the Lions, and let's get in and move on, because you don't want any of these guys getting injured anymore long term. Going forward, how do I feel? My optimistic side would like to think maybe we win 10 next year. My pessimistic side probably 7. My realistic side thinks maybe we could go 8-8. But equally, in saying that, if we're going to achieve that sort of goal, they've got to draft, and they've got to draft really well, with 1 first-round pick, 2 in the 3rd, and then loads in the 7th. I'm not overly hopeful. Again, Joey, it circles round for me to the organisation, the front office, and the head coach. I think they are going in different directions. You've got Spillman that clearly wanted to go and find a quarterback to solve a lot of solutions, and you've got a head coach that is so defensively minded that he continues to ignore the offence. Zim's a great defensive mind, but I really don't believe he's a head coach, because he doesn't put enough time and effort into looking at what problems he's got on the offence. And the thing is, when you're trying to draft all defence, we come back to this problem of you aren't the 1970s Vikings, where you've got no free agency to deal with, and you can keep that unit together for years, so your window is big. We're in the 21st century, we're in the 2020s. We can't keep 11 elite players together for perhaps more than 2 seasons if we're really, really lucky. So I really do believe that they have to change what they're doing. And that's changed the head coach. Get a head coach that actually wants to delegate, wants to sort of say, right, you're the OC, deal with the offence. And the defensive coach deals with the defence, and this guy oversees everything. Because at the moment, we have a head coach that doesn't oversee everything. He interferes. This is why we've had 5 bloody OCs since he came. I just don't see a way out of it currently. Unless the organisation is prepared to make a change at the head coach position. Spillman, I'll give Spillman another attempt at making a run for the big game. But Zimmer, no, I have no faith left in the guy. And I wouldn't want him being the head coach and dealing with a young quarterback if we were to draft a quarterback in 1 or 2 years, which I think has to be the most likely way we go. But when you look at the holes in this team, I just can't see any reason to be optimistic whatsoever for the 2021 season. Perhaps I am too pessimistic. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? But God, that was just awful on Christmas Day when you look at that defence and where it's gone. Anyway, Joey, Happy New Year. Let's hope to God that this COVID crap is finally dealt with in the next 12 months and we can all get back to some sort of semblance of normality, because quite frankly, I, and probably many others, are thoroughly sick of it. So, Happy New Year, Purple Nation, Purple Mafia. Happy New Year, Joey. All the best. Keep up the good work. And I look forward to listening to the next podcast later on today. Skol, brothers and sisters.
And I can't thank you enough. Happy New Year to you, Mad Martin, Dave Martin, out of Northern Scotland. Awesome. Love that voice. Love the takes. Nothing to disagree with, I'd have to say. Zimmer is just kind of, he's not delegating. He's kind of getting too involved with the wrong things. And at the same time, he's not, collaborating at all, where it's like all one-sided for the defense, this and this and this and this. And it's funny how the defense hasn't been good, obviously, with guys being out and rookies and all that. That's been kind of the number one, cop-out, so to speak, for this season. I shouldn't necessarily call it a cop-out, but it sure feels like one at sometimes. Obviously, youth and injuries and COVID-19 this, COVID-19 that. And yes, I'm as sick of it as you are for maybe slightly different reasons, I suppose. It sucks having to wear a mask all day at work. It's depressing because not everybody has to, and most of us do, I guess. A lot of us do. It'd be nice to be the person that can just stay home and work. Honestly, I would like that, actually. I wouldn't even want to have to go back in, just stay home and work from now on. I would like that. As weird and as boring and as antisocial as that might seem, I'm a fan of that. I can't disagree with the thought of, again, like moving on from Mike Zimmer. Obviously, again, the lack of creativity, the kind of the one-sided approach with things, like how, oh, goody, we're probably going to take a cornerback in the first round again, when there's just never a focus on the offensive line. Just go fix it. You know, that's where people always like to joke on Score North and stuff, where it's like, oh, hey, Gary, fix that offensive line. You know, when he's too busy worrying about the cornerbacks and everything. We're going to take like 3 cornerbacks in the draft and all that. No, don't get me wrong. A lot of those guys ended up being pretty good players, including Harrison Hand, who actually played pretty well today. Played pretty well last week. Harrison Hand's been a nice little revelation the past couple of weeks, where we might have gone 3 for 3 this year with the defensive backs, which again, you know, obviously we'll be looking for a safety. There's almost no chance Anthony Harris returns unless he takes a significant pay cut, which I don't know. Maybe he will. He's going to have to play better too, not just take a significant pay cut, but actually play better. But no, I mean, obviously there's positives on offense, this and that, but again, the lack of creativity and how he just kind of, you know, he has such a hard time keeping the coordinators here because of the way he manages things, him being Mike Zimmer. I mean, like you said, 5 bloody coordinators. That's insane. I mean, you got Norv Kerner, Pat Shurmur, who luckily in his case got hired by the New York Giants. Of course, that didn't work out at all for him, but he at least again moved up to he actually moved up. It actually was a success. It's sad how that worked out. How he only got to be the offensive coordinator for a year and a half, him being Pat Shurmur, and then DeFilippo was an absolute disaster, a terrible fit. Mike Zimmer was unwilling to even give him a chance, basically. I thought he was too pass-oriented, where Zimmer and Kubiak are too run-oriented. Obviously, like Zimmer is just constantly thinking about that old-school offense, run the ball. It's good to run the ball. I'm not 1,000,000% against running the ball, but when it seems to be all the time, and you're never willing to really take a legitimate shot down the field, which could be a major game-changing moment, which might put you in position to win a game rather than hoping not to lose the game. Like you're playing not to lose versus playing to win against a good team like the Saints or whoever. The Dallas frickin' Cowboys, who wasn't good, but almost won their division this year. Almost won the division until today, losing to the Giants. That was the end of that. Stuff like that. I mean, it's sad. It's sad how ultra-conservative the offense is. It truly is. Instead of going for the big shot down the field, you know, like it's 3rd and 9 and we're doing check downs for 2-yard gains. And, okay, can you break 3 tackles? Come on, you can do it. Oh, yeah, he got one. Oh, he didn't get it. Oh, 5-yard gain. 4th and 4. Here comes Britton Colquitt ready to punt. Or here comes Dan Bailey for a 37-yarder. It is hooked to the left. Thank you so much. And there you go. Green Bay takes over at the 30, at the whatever, you know. Green Bay takes over, regardless. Oh, Lord. I mean, it's so frustrating. I mean, it's like they always say, Patrick Mahomes, say he's in a situation where it's 3rd and 12 or something, and he throws the ball 18, you know, the play is 18 yards down the field. Boom, first down. Like, there's no doubt it's a first down. You don't have to break a tackle. Like, say, you need 12 yards and you throw the ball, you know, the play is 11 yards down the field, so you have to break at least 1 tackle to get that last yard or something like that. Or maybe like you know, you go for like 9 yards, you got to break a tackle or 2 to get there. Hopefully you get it, but oftentimes it doesn't work out. If it's Dalvin Cook, you just might break the tackle. And Justin Jefferson, with that quick turn he has and that good footwork, you just might break a tackle. But you can't count on it all the time, especially with the Chad Beebes of the world. He's not bad, but he's not necessarily Mr. I'm going to break every tackle coming my way. It just doesn't seem to happen. He's just a little guy, you know, in terms of Chad Beebe, and he's not the quickest. He's got straight line speed. That's why he's a punt returner, but he doesn't have an explosion, or he's not that shifty per se. He's mostly just there to catch the ball. That's pretty much what punt returners do, and not fumble. Yeah, we all know how that turned out a few weeks back. But, yep, great takes. Thank you so much, Dave Martin. Mad Martin, you are a legend of the Purple Mafia Nation. You really are. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Sam Gupta out of California, at Purple Mafia Show. At Purple Mafia Show is the Twitter account. Thank you. Please do give it a follow. Ah, boy, it's been real quiet. People follow and then some others unfollow. That's just what kind of year it's been. It's been all over the place. Sam Gupta out of California says, totally agree with that title. That was, again, worst run defense ever. And it was. And I was saying that was the definition of bad. And Kevin McMahon out of Wisconsin liked that. He hosted the From the Cheap Seats podcast. Very cool podcast. I believe he stopped, though, unfortunately. Very nice Vikings podcast. Kevin out of Wisconsin there. Malcolm McSween out of California. And it looks like, Malcolm McSween, Dave Martin, Mad Martin, Gerald String, Vince Germano out of Australia, Gerald String out of Nebraska, and Tene Brown out of New Zealand all retweeted the most recent episode. Thank you guys so much. That was really cool. Thank you for the retweeting and passing on to your friends there. Mad Martin, Northern Scotland says, love that podcast, especially the last bit. Yep, I'm sick of just good like you. I want great. Of course, we would be considered not true fans by many. Time to take risks and go get the Super Bowl. Just good enough to scrape into the playoffs is not enough. And I agree 100,000%. I'm tired of just scraping into the playoffs and losing. Just like with the Timberwolves in the Kevin Garnett era. Everybody was seeming to be very satisfied with it. Why? You're not happy that we made the playoffs 6 years in a row? Well, we lost in the first round 6 years in a row, you dimwit. That's what I wanted to tell people. I mean, do you like losing in the first round all of the 6 years you make the playoffs? That's where you fire the coach, by the way. As much as I loved Flip Saunders, I would have fired him after the Wolves got... Especially when you get the vibe, we're not progressing. We're actually moving backwards. When the Timberwolves got swept by the Dallas Mavericks, I would have made the unpopular move and fired Flip Saunders. But the Wolves didn't do it. I would have fired him after that. They'd have been like, oh my God, did you really just do that? I'm like, yeah, I did. Even Shaq said that. Once it's about 6 years in with a coach and you feel like you're not moving forward, you gotta move on. That's just a fact, unfortunately. Sometimes that's how it goes. It's not personal, it's business. I think Zimmer's in that same boat. He's won 2 playoff games, and both of them were literally like miracles where we were going to lose. Now, well, then again, the first one was. Like, we were going to lose to the Saints after we'd been kicking their butts. They came roaring back and were kicking our butts. And then last year, that was a pretty good performance. But unfortunately, it was just like, okay, we won this game. We go into San Francisco and got our butts kicked. So it didn't feel good. You beat the Saints with the Minneapolis Miracle and then get your butts kicked in Philadelphia. That didn't feel good either. It was downright frustrating and just like, it's like, yeah, well, we had that one good year that didn't amount to a whole lot. You didn't make it. You just didn't make it, man. It's depressing. Mad Martin again says, did a call-in, positive to negative, but to hell with it. I can already predict next season, and that's just good enough and never, ever truly great. So, you had us winning like 7 or 8 games again next year, right? And right now, with the current makeup of the roster and the fact that all your eggs are in one basket with Kirk Cousins and you cannot sign Hunter, that was the other one. That was the other take you had. You can't sign Hunter. You can't. I agree with that. The hope is that possibly Hunter can be used as a trade chip on draft day to get to move up and make something magical happen and hopefully get a quarterback in the fold that can lead this team to the promised land someday. A quarterback that will not start next year unless Kirk Cousins somehow gets hurt or something. Or has such a terrible performance that you put the other guy in for a game or two and see what happens and let's go. You won't have to pay the guy bajillions of dollars right away, so it'll work. I'm praying to God that that's the way it goes. Daniel Hunter does want quarterback-like money. There's no way in hell the Vikings can do that. You can't. You can't. The only way you can do that is with the rookie quarterback on a rookie contract and pray to God that guy is a legit stud moving forward. That's the thing where Kirk Cousins puts up really good numbers. Really good numbers. But in the big moments, he seems to kind of lose it. Occasionally, he'll have a big game, this and that, but to win a Super Bowl, you have to win at least 3 games in a row against really, really, really good teams. And you just might have to win one on the road, or 2, just to get there. And on the road, and then in the Super Bowl, it's a quote-unquote neutral environment with every freaking eye on the planet that watches football on you. Can Kirk Cousins do that? Can he win 3 games, at least 3 games in a row with that final one with every eye on the world on him? I'm not convinced he can. Some guys thrive in that situation, other guys don't. John Elway got it done, finally. After, in his case, his teams were so inferior to the dynasties he ran into. That was the problem for the poor guy, John Elway. He ran into some pretty tough teams. You know, that 87 Redskins team, and, of course, the late 80s 49ers. It was pretty rough for Mr. John, but luckily for him, eventually it worked out. Could have gone with what run defense? Yep, saying how like I could have, instead of worst run defense ever, Mad Martin says, could have gone with what run defense? Danae Brown liked the tweet as well. Yep, he liked Mad Martin's tweet there about that he loved the podcast. Yep. Continue here. Mad Martin says, it's the always next season shit that people go on about. Yep, they go on and on about. As I said, I would take 2 seasons of crap if it was to put us in a position to be great. Sticking Band-Aids on and hope we get lucky does not work. I agree 1,000,000%. And yes, Kansas City got insanely lucky being able to make that trade, and it ended up being the best quarterback for the next 10 years there. So, I mean, it's like sometimes it's good to, they took a risk and it was a good one. You know, they traded away a quarterback that was a Pro Bowl level quarterback in Alex Smith. Kirk Cousins is a Pro Bowl level quarterback. Is Alex Smith the Super Bowl quarterback? Nah. Kirk Cousins? I don't think so. Good quarterback, but he's not a Super Bowl quarterback to me. Those mental gaffes like he had with the Detroit lineman today, Detroit defensive tackle today, had me thinking like, Lord have mercy. Just imagine if that was the Super Bowl, and we were winning the Super Bowl, and then that defensive lineman caught it, and we were at our own 20. Well. Plays like that can derail things pretty dramatically, pretty quickly in that kind of a moment where everybody pees down their leg, and next thing you know, please forgive the graphic comment there, and next thing you know, everything goes downhill really, 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 really quick. Just like the high snap by the Denver Broncos early in that Denver-Seattle Super Bowl that ended up going very, very poorly for Denver right after that. Mad Martin says, honestly, it took me 2 days to cool off after that performance. I just hope they shut it down in the last game. No point getting starters injured. If they draft defense at the first pick, I might give up next season. I know what you mean. Mad Martin says, to me, we've a decent O. Use those top picks to solidify the O-line. Yeah. Give Cousins a chance to do his thing. This D has too many holes. Draft Hunter. I think he means trade Hunter, and use that money. Yep, and use that money to get okay veterans to give us more depth on the D. If we can be a top 20 defense, it's possible we go 11-5. And he's saying trade Hunter. Yep, that's why he said trade Hunter. Yep, I agree with that. And that's probably what's going to happen, by the way. You're probably going to have to trade him. Hopefully we can get a higher pick than we got for Ngakoue. No, I got to think so. Ngakoue's good, but Hunter is, super good. Black Space Gaming, I'm still pretty much convinced that is Sebastian. I'm pretty sure it is Sebastian Barton. He's never officially admitted it, though, which is weird. It's him, though. He says, do you ever get exhausted of this same old dance with the Vikings? And I was like, of course. Of course. I was thinking, extremely. Are you kidding me? It's been 29 years of heartbreak. And he liked that. I'm pretty sure that's Sebastian, yep, because I think he's no longer on Facebook. He just said, I'm out of here. Hell with this. And he says he feels like 1,000,000 times better. And I understand why that could be. It's all because of this darn podcast, right? This one and the others, right? I'm still using Facebook. I should probably get off, too. Twitter's Twitter, though. Twitter is social media, but it's not as frustrating as Facebook can be. With all the constant bragging, everybody thinks they're the coolest, most interesting person in the world, and they're not. Not everybody cares about what you're photographing or whatever. Bad Martin says, I feel for those fans that have been with the team since the start. Can you imagine? That's heartbreaking. This season got me when we pulled back to 6-6. Then they did what they do best, and they went adios, bye-bye. I think I responded to that one, right? There's a conversation. Yep, it's because I was saying the 29 years of heartbreak. So he was actually responding to that, him being Mad Martin anyway. He says, him being Mad Martin says, absolutely, to be honest, it feels more like a 4-11 season so far. Those 2 victories against Carolina and Jacksonville were horrible to watch. God, yes, they were bad. Teddy Bridgewater was bad. He was not good the second half of the year, was he? And Jacksonville's like the worst. Jacksonville's just, ugh. I mean, they stink. Did you realize they were in the AFC title game and they almost beat the New England Patriots? Do you realize that? They would have gotten killed by the Eagles, though, I'm sure. Sam Gupta, out of Cali, says, Happy New Year. Agree the Dallas game is when the quality of the team became obvious. Yep. I suppose we're a bit to blame, too. We shouldn't have bought into the hype, yeah. With new defensive backs plus injuries, this quickly became a lost season, and that was really well said. Yep. Well said, Sam. That was good. He's got to get a star, for crying out loud. He's a Purple Mafia Hall of Famer. He got in, I believe it was last year, and it was like unanimous as far as I'm concerned. It was time for him to get in. Sam there. Man Martin says, and a Happy New Year to you, Sam. That's the problem. We always get sucked back in. That's the beauty of sports. I never believed this team was good enough, but you have to have hope. And he's like laughing. Sam liked that one. He says, ha ha, you are right. Hope is a powerful thing, and you never know when the breaks will go the team's way, like they did just a few seasons ago. And, yep, I just wish they went all the way, man. But they never do they? I think there's some... Yep. And this is when I... Yeah, he was talking about the 6-6, and I do what they do best. I was saying, yep, it was very demoralizing. Thanks for the good... What did I type here? It must have been a typo. Doggone it. It was very demoralizing. Thanks for the good for a minute there. And then it was literally adios, bye-bye. I think I was trying to say they looked pretty good for a minute there. And then it was literally adios, bye-bye. The Dallas game was the end of the season when you really look back at it. Yep. And then Sam agreed. And the noise upstairs is getting worse. It always does. Oof. Hopefully not much longer. Black Skates Gaming says, guys, check this out. Holy bleep. Cool and fun. It was Japan X Bowl 34 2020. So, yep, check that out if you could. You could probably look that up, Google it, or YouTube it is where it is. Pretty cool. Mad Martin says, going with Red Zone tonight. That's today. With the delights of PA on the radio. Paul Allen, yep. Could be a quiet day on social media with JJ. Justin Jefferson beat Moss's yardage. And can AP get 100 yards on RG? Seemed the most interesting points in this game. Yep, and well, Jefferson got it. He got that record. AP did not get 100, but he came damn close. Happy New Year, as we all continue to suffer from Vikingitis, a lack of a Super Bowl win. And I was saying it was like we're like purple addicts, basically is what I was saying. Defense, what defense? Need a new OC. All this to get into field goal range, and no doubt Bailey misses it. And with that, BB gets a touchdown. Gets a great touchdown. Mind you, the Lions D is horrendous. And then being Black Space Gaming, we're kind of going off topic for a minute. They're talking about this nice-looking restaurant in Iowa. Let's do that conversation really quick. Might as well look it up. I guess it's one of those places in Iowa. Yep, he was saying how eating at restaurants never felt so good, and a beautiful French dip sandwich with those nice thick fries. Water Ridge Bay, or at Bay Ridge. I forget. Yeah, it was in the messages. Messages. That's where it was. We were having a conversation. I guess what it's really called is, Water's Edge Grill. Grille. It is in northwestern Iowa. So it's actually not that far from here. It's in very northern western Iowa. And what's the name of that city? Okaboji? I'm not sure. Yep. Looks really beautiful. Yep. Friday's French dip is half off. I got mushrooms and onions on mine. Yeah, I'm like 99% convinced that's Sebastian, because he was talking about Mark Carlson even in there. Yep. Mad Martin says, imagine being a Lions fan. This game is sort of fun and bleeping hell. Horse D's are not D's. Those D's. Yep. Oh, yeah, he was mad. 1,400 yards for Justin Jefferson is amazing. We need them to hit on almost every pick in the draft to have a shot next season. 7-9, what I expected, so not disappointment. But Zimmer is on the hot seat now. If they draft poorly, Zimmer could be in big trouble. I still think we have too many areas of need to solve in one draft, and I understand that. A lot of things will have to go like perfect for us going forward for the Vikings. I believe, right at the end of the half, the Washington football team took the lead over the Eagles. 17-14 with 12:31 remaining at the moment I'm recording this segment, at this moment. And now we head over to Facebook. Facebook.com/Purple Mafia Show. Facebook.com/Purple Mafia Show. Going to have a little bonus here since, of course, the other segments the first two segments weren't quite as long as sometimes. Especially that second one was a little bit shorter, believe it or not. Even though it felt long in a way because I kept going about the postseason. But I found finally I was able to get the visitors post to actually show now on the application. Can't seem to be able to do it on the computer, the browser, but the application I can see the visitors post again. So those of you that have been nice enough to post during the week on your own, like individual visitor post, I can finally see it again. So you can do that again. And I apologize for not reading them in the past. I couldn't see them. I can now. So there must have been some kind of a problem. Yeah, these even go back into August. Yeah, man, I'm so sorry. Mark Carlson went on video and he was saying, this is way back in August, it's not Labor Day yet, but I hope all my friends had a great summer school from a small Minnesota lake. Looking forward to football and this fine podcast and reading everyone's post too. Mark from Iowa. I am so sorry I didn't get to see this earlier in the year, Mark. That's awesome. That's cool how you set that up and got that going for us. What a cool guy, huh? That is awesome. Absolutely awesome. Yep, man. I wish it was summer again. He was saying, as much as I like winter, I like summer too. Brent was saying in September, if things continue to go down the crapper and the Vikings want to do, here's how to divorce a divorce from Kirk could work. So you check that out if you can, minnesotasportsfan.com. Divorce options for the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins. Leland Albertson, also out of Iowa. Brent Jacobson's from the Lakeville area. The Vikings are likely stuck with Kirk Cousins through 2012. Pro Football Talking, I think so too. Kind of is what it is there. But if you can get a legitimate prospect behind him developing, maybe it won't all be so bad, I guess. Brent Jacobson was saying, is it too soon to rename the Christian Potter Memorial Award the Kirk Cousins Memorial Award? And I was saying, the way things are going, it's coming soon in the next couple of years. Yep. Yeah, I'd settle for Trey Lance. That's funny. Yeah. 10,000 takes on Twitter. Leland also, voice of an angel. That's an interesting one there. Mark Carlson in November, so we're getting a little more caught up now because there's no way I saw this one, and I apologize earlier, Mark, as I'm seeing it now finally. So no Vikings game today as they have a bear hunt scheduled for tomorrow night, and the only game on here is the Green Bay versus Carolina on Fox. Is Green Bay versus Carolina on Fox, but the audio is horrible. Lots of background noise. I'm not sure if they put in there intentionally or for fake crowd noise or what the deal is. So I flipped my TV to YouTube and watched a classic Vikings game. I decided on the 2009 divisional playoff game against the Cowboys. Right away, I am aware of a few things. I miss fans in the stands. I miss the real crowd, and that drives the emotion of the game. Also, the Vikings defense was so good that year, and here we are in 2020, and our defense is not aggressive at all. I want a defense that is disruptive and fast. Today, I feel like we have a defense that is always trying to play to the level of its opponents rather than thank force opponents to adapt to our threatening D. We definitely need to build a defense that has players that are on that level and a coach that can make them a threat. Well, one more thought, and I am sorry if I'm going on here. I miss Ragnar. I think he did post this in a different segment, but I think he did post it on the other thing too, maybe because he figured I wasn't seeing these, but I can see them now, apparently. Something was really wrong with the app before, but it works now. You're saying, I know there are no fans in the stands, but he has been gone for years, so when the time comes to fill the stadium again, we need Ragnar back. Anyway, I will get back to the classic game I am watching here. Skull Vikings fans worldwide, and thank you very much. Malcolm, so there's no way I saw this one, and keep these coming, guys. Malcolm, Mark Carlson, Brent Jacobson, you can keep these coming. I can see them now. They must have corrected whatever the issue was. I'm not the only person that was noticing the issues. That's why it finally got fixed. Malcolm McSween says, just had this thought. This was in December, so it's much more recent, thankfully. It's not like months and months and months ago, even though it was cool to see something from back in August for a minute there, out in that nice summer evening. Even though I like June much more than August. But just had this thought, the Packers might move on from Rodgers in the next 2 years. The Lions might move on from Stafford as soon as next year. The Bears are a mess at quarterback. Do we really want the Vikings to start over at quarterback the same time the rest of the division is? Why not extend Cousins one more time to have probably the best quarterback in the division in hopes the Packers, Lions, and Bears are rebuilding that position? This also doesn't mean we shouldn't draft a quarterback while still playing and paying Kirk. What do you think, Purple Mafia? Well, we will be keeping him. I don't know if we're going to extend him, but we will be keeping him. Maybe they will extend him. Maybe they're going to be so in love with him after next season they'll extend him again. We will see what happens. We'll see. We will see what happens. Sorry about that, but yeah, thanks for the thought there. It's interesting. It's an interesting thought. I do think he's going to be here at least 2 more years. Outside of that, I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. Detroit, who knows what's going to happen? And some people are even talking about the Vikings acquiring Stafford, where he's I think he's a little better than Cousins ultimately, but maybe not. I don't know. He's better in some ways and not in others. He's certainly more mobile. Because I know he's frustrated us many times in the past, those 3rd and longs, and he'd go for those runs and get the first down and get me cursing at somebody. Let's keep moving. Tanae Brown, there he goes. He posted on December the 30th. I've seen a few rumors about PJ Fleck drawing interest for an NFL coaching job. What would fans in Minnesota like to, would fans in Minnesota like to see him come into the Viking staff or even take over for Zimmer? I don't know much about college football, but I know the Gophers had a great season last year. Oh, boy. I don't know if PJ Fleck is an NFL coach. Maybe a coordinator or something. An offensive coordinator. I don't think he's a head coach in the NFL. He is a college coach. To me, PJ Fleck is a college coach. Because there's an act, unless he has a different act as a head coach. And I'm not writing coattails of, say, like a Patrick Royce who calls everything act. I'm not meaning to write his coattails on that. But yeah, it's a different, you'd have to have a completely different image, I think, to be a head coach. Pete Carroll, it worked for him, though. I mean, Pete Carroll definitely was a rah-rah guy when he first got to Seattle, and look at their success. Didn't last forever, and they're still good, and he's still the coach of the Seattle Seahawks, and there's no way they're going to fire Pete Carroll in Seattle. Like, he's going to step away when it's his time to step away. Or like not renew or whatever. He'll step down or step away someday, where it's like, yep, I've been here long enough, that kind of thing. Maybe it'd be a huge risk. Well, he's an offensive coach, and the Gophers' offense was very successful last year. It truly was, and the defense was better during last year. This most recent year, they gave up like record yardage this last year. It was pretty bad. It kind of sounds familiar, unfortunately. It's interesting. It's interesting to say the least at the end of the day. But he wouldn't be at the top of my list. But then again, who would be? That's the interesting part. Who would be at the top of my list to be head coach of the Vikings moving forward? I'm not sure, but well, there was a little bonus there. So now those of you that want to post like a visitor post like that, where it's not on one of my threads, you can do it again. It works now. So thank you for doing that, and sorry for the extremely long delay on some of those. But even December the 30th, it was a little while. It was only a couple of days actually. So today's actually was perfect for this show. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. Now, Facebook.com/Purple Mafia Show. It's already there. Yes. We'll continue. Mark Carlson says, that's on the most recent episode. He says, great show today, Joey. Worst run defense ever. I think it must be hard sometimes to produce and deliver a product when the subject can be at times too disappointing and messy. I remember listening to you in the Ponder and Jackson years. Yep. The team record went up and down, and the play on the field could both be praised and condemned in back-to-back weeks. Yet the product, the Purple Mafia Show, was still fresh and fun to listen to. as it is today. Thank you very much. So looking forward to the future after this game and this podcast episode. Too many seasons of Vikings football that are solid and productive and have players that stay on the team and care more about the wins and losses, care more about the fans than a bigger contract. Skol, Mark from Iowa. Oh, man. I'm hoping for that, and thank you very much. That was a really awesome comment, Mark. I really appreciate that. Superly appreciate that. Honestly, and there's the article, NFL.com. Vikings receiver Justin Jefferson looks to catch rookie record in finale, and he did. Mark Carlson says he has been amazing. He has been amazing as a rookie. So much fun to watch, and what a good addition to the team. Yep, what an amazing addition indeed. In-game threads, Brett McCarthy. Mike Dale, Brett McCarthy, welcome back. Dave Hickey, there he is. Dave Hickey says, out of Iowa, Happy New Year, especially after the year we went through. Yep, this 2020. Not only with the pandemic, but this football team. I'm ready for a new year, even though this game means nothing other than draft positions and how much better a pick you are going to get by losing. That's why I want to see a win and a lot of young guys in the lineup besides the ones that were forced to play already. But it's not on in my area, so I'm not going to see any of it, and that's unfortunate. But thank you for posting, and thank you for keeping up with the show anyway, despite that frustrating side of it. Thank you very much. I was saying congratulations, Justin Jefferson, all-time rookie record for receiving yards. People like that, of course. Mark Carlson says halftime here in northwest Iowa. Foggy wind and frosty. Yeah, I wonder what's up with that. Wasn't that weird? Yeah, where did the fog come from? It's kind of a weird situation for fog. I don't understand it, but very weird weather conditions here the last couple of days. It was it was a freezing fog that would leave rime icing on branches. It's kind of cool, actually. Cool and weird. Mike Dale out of the New York State area says, "Ha ha, Prater misses an extra point and then follows it up with hitting a 54-yarder. That would have been good from 64." Shakes head. It's weird, isn't it? Prater's like that. He's got a powerful leg, but again, the accuracy, he's been a little bit all over the place. His show ends up being super long anyway, but I guess it's a season finale. Holy crap, this is a long show. The fan interaction segment, a little long, I guess. But that's okay. Hey, it's the end of the year. Mike Dale says, Merry New Year. Which team is going to shoot themselves in the foot less? Us. I thought it was Detroit at the time, but it ended up being us. We shot ourselves in the foot a lot, though. With the missed this and the almost intercepted that and blah, blah, blah. Brett McCarthy, South Dakota, says, wow, Bailey couldn't hit a bull in the ass with a shovel of corn. True. True. Very funny. That was awesome. I think it's really sad. Hopefully he's better next year, or, of course, he will be somewhere else or nowhere else. Yeah. Brett McCarthy again says, Happy New Year, Skull. That was the very first post of the day. Mark Carlson says, halftime on the final game of the season. Good to see a big okay to BB. Next year we have to show up with a real defense, and I am hoping so too. Mike Dale says, not surprisingly, it seems both teams are in no F's given territory, at least defensively speaking. Yeah, I know what you mean. He was saying, we might actually have a player in Harrison Hand, and I think we do too. He's giving us a hand. He's giving us a hand, just like Brad Hand. If he came here to help pitch for the Twins, if he could be our new closer, he's actually a local guy. Played for the Cleveland Indians, San Diego Padres. Wouldn't that be nice? Give us a hand. Give us a hand. Hand out there in Major League Baseball. Okay, sorry. Mike Dale says, wow, baby, it's still in your doghouse. Joey, or are you still just apathetic about him like many of us? I'm okay with BB right now. I feel better. I mean, I was very apathetic to him for so long, but he ended up stepping up a little bit in the way he redeemed himself in the game that he had that horrible fumble. He didn't end up being Eric Gullerflerd. He ended up being a little better. Brett McCarthy says, interesting opening drives they both offenses. Yep, you could sense a little sarcasm mixed in there. Interesting open drives by both offenses. Well, that was interesting. Slum dry sense of humor there, I'm sensing. Yes, I think so. Brett McCarthy says, on the bright side, we got some good young talent. Yes, we do. Hard to watch this, just sloppy, very sloppy. Nice hit, Gladney. That was when he knocked the ball away. Very cool. Post-game threads, not much going on in this one, but, well, there's a lot to say, just not a lot of comments. But they're longer, usually, these comments, and then we wrap things up, I guess. Mike Dale says, well, a pretty disappointing season comes to an end. Obviously, drafting the best quarterback that we can is the order of the day, come hell or high water, and possibly trading up in the draft, which I think is a strong possibility. Hopefully, we'll be able to extend the contracts of Hunter and Harry, as in Harrison Smith, as, let's face it, Smith and Kendricks were basically putting out fires and patching holes in the dams the entire season. I agree. Harry and Kendricks are absolute superstars that seem like they're nowhere in 5 different places at once. It seems like they're in 5 different places at once, pardon me. However, with all the injuries and inexperience, those two were stretched to their own breaking points, where they were shown to be quite fallible and were often forced to gamble for high-risk, high-reward outcome to try to make big plays. Eric Wilson impressed, however, it seems like Anthony Harris did not live up to his new contract. No, he didn't. The young corners will improve and look promising. Hopefully, the cap problem, how do we say that? Exacerbated by the Cousins contract can be alleviated, and we'll finally find the money to move on with a young quarterback and pay to keep our few shining leaders on defense still intact. Joey, don't be disheartened by the decline in numbers of listeners and streams. I myself struggle to stay interested. Yeah, I know what you mean. Really, I really do. I myself, believe me, I feel the same. It's not easy doing the show when the team's not good or they're just kind of crappy to watch, and other people aren't watching. I myself struggle to stay interested by their less than inspiring play. However, in my opinion, you have the best Vikings podcast around. Thank you so much. Let's get this to a love here. Where was he? Like everything moved there. Sorry. Well, okay. However, in my opinion, you have the best Vikings podcast around. While many podcasts are all about cold analytics, numbers, statistics, and projections, your podcast is warmer and more human. With the injected nostalgia and personal anecdotal history of what it's like being a fan of this downright frustrating franchise, you may not be an accredited therapist, but you're definitely qualified to have the right bedside manner to lead this damaged rabble's weekly group therapy sessions. Keep it going, as it is much appreciated. Skol brothers and sisters, a la Mad Martin in Northern Scotland. That's what he said there. Looking forward to the draft and next season's possibilities. That was, wow, that was awesome. That was awesome. If Mike Dale doesn't get a star, yeah, then I'm making a mistake. That was awesome. That was awesome. And he will absolutely be in the Star of the Year ceremonies. Mike Dale is going to be in the Star of the Year ceremony, if you know what I mean. Yeah, he'll be getting one of the 3 Stars of the Year, for sure. Brett McCarthy says, tough year without Hunter and Pierce, yep. And no off-season workouts. High notes. Got a lot of young talent. Build up the offensive line, please. Yep, well said, Brett. Jeff Froyland, Iowa. Brett McCarthy, South Dakota. Jeff Froyland, Iowa says, good finish. Nice to see them run the ball without Delvin. That was nice, wasn't it? It was. Jefferson's a beast. Happy for him setting records. Mark Carlson says, Jefferson, wow. Let's spend some money on a defense, please. Looking forward to the playoffs now. Some exciting teams to watch. And me too. And I will be, as always, continuing into the postseason like I have for years and years and years and years. I think Dave Hickey just commented on something. Yep. Okay, that's a different one. That's just a general Happy New Year post and Merry Christmas. So that's it for all the posts. Quite a few posts, even though because I was kind of going retrospective. You had the call-in, you had all those tweets. Wow, what an awesome fan interaction, even though you might have thought it was a quiet day for fan interaction, but it was so good. I mean, that was so good. You guys deserve a huge hand. Welcome to the very first Pearl Mafia show of 2021. And I did the best I could, I guess. Hopefully, no, and you guys did the best. You guys are absolutely the greatest. Oh man, where do we go here? The awards for this episode, Mad Martin, Mike Dale, Mad Martin, you are getting shining platinum laced gold stars with diamonds for this episode. Unbelievable. Both of you deserve a ton of credit. Fantastic episode today. Mark Carlson's going to get a big gold-plated silver star. No question about it. Just awesome. Thank you guys so much. Awesome to hear from Black Space Gaming. Sam Gupta's got to at least get a silver-plated bronze star. He was so good. Also, oh man, where we go? Yeah, I miss Gerald String this week. Pretty quiet, but I mean he's probably busy and maybe super frustrating and down in the dumps, and I know he is. Silver star, Mark Carlson. I'm gonna give Sam Gupta also a silver star. Brett McCarthy's going to get a nice super duper bronze star, along with Dave Hickey. I mean, just an awesome week, guys. You know, I can't appreciate you enough. Always wonderful to hear from Brent Jacobs, and hopefully he posts again. Hopefully he wasn't discouraged when I didn't say anything, because he probably thought I was ignoring his post when I was absolutely not. It's just the way this stupid thing is set up. I think it just acted up again. See, now it's doing this again. Oh, that's the invite friends one, not the post to page. See, it actually worked. Tanae, great thoughts as well. Malcolm, great thoughts as well. I mean, all you guys are just everything to the show. I mean, there's a reason why you got put in that Hall of Fame. All of you guys mean everything. I could give every one of you a star and feel super confident that I'm giving it to the right person. That's how good you guys are to me, and I appreciate it so much every week. And that's why I never step away. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many times people in my family keep saying, "Why do you keep doing that? That's stupid. Why do you spend so much time on this? It's stupid. You know, like the Vikings are garbage. Why do you care about it?" It's because I want to keep doing it, even though the Vikings are super frustrating, this and that. I don't want to tell you guys I'm not doing the show anymore. Goodbye. You know, maybe you'll hear from me on Facebook here and there. I don't think I want to do that. I wouldn't feel right about it. So I mean, I don't want to go away because of that reason. You know, thank you for keeping me here. You guys are keeping me here, and I'm keeping myself here, and hopefully I'm keeping you here as well. We'll all kind of work as a team that way. We're all the Purple Mafia that way. Apologize for that sudden chime there. I don't know what that was all about. Interesting. So with that said, wishing all of you, again, a Happy New Year going into 2021. Keep up with the postseason. I'll be pumping out shows for the postseason. I'll be doing it just like I always do. Go Buffalo Bills. Go Packers? No, not yet. Go Bears. Go Buffalo Bills. Let's go Bears in the NFC for now. Or Tampa. Go Chicago or Tampa in the NFC. We're not going to cheer for. I'm not cheering for the Packers. I'm not cheering for the Saints. Maybe the Washington football team if they. They'd have to beat the Tampa Bay Bucks. I'm going to actually cheer for Tampa in that matchup, but we'll see. Maybe Washington makes some kind of crazy run, which would be hilarious. Go Buffalo. You know, go Baltimore, somebody like that. I don't want to see Pittsburgh. I'd love to see Cleveland, but I'm not too confident in them either right now. They look like another one of those teams, like they make the playoffs and out they go. That's my fear for Cleveland, but maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe they'll surprise us all. With that said, God bless all of you. I passed out the stars. Final things are, again, please do an audio submission just like Mad Martin. If Mad Martin, keep them coming in the postseason if you like. If you're not interested or you're too busy or whatever it is, it's all up to you. It's a free country. It's a free world. It's a free worldwide podcast is what it is. If you're able to, it'd be absolutely fantastic. You know, Tanae Brown, you're always welcome to call in, like I believe he did once for this show, and he recently did for Timberwolves Explosion again after he'd been so busy. Thank you so much for that. Call in for Timberwolves or this one. All you got to do, you know, Mark Carlson's called in, Gerald String. Like, did I mention we need some guards? Yep, and he can say that once again and be dead on accurate. We need some guards, all right, especially if Ezra Cleveland's going to move to tackle. But no, audio submission is what it's called, not a call-in anymore. It's an audio submission. Brent Jacobson, same thing. Brent Jacobson used to call in all the time. Man, I miss him. It's super easy to do. Super freaking easy. Just, you know, any smart device on the planet. Like I'm holding this Note 10 right now. It's just like audio or voice or whatever the heck it's called. Just open it up, click record, treat it like a phone call, and don't be nervous. Just fire away like Mad Martin did. Just fire away. Nothing to be nervous about. I'm not sitting here going, ugh, what is that garbage? No, don't be nervous. Dave, Vicky, any of you, call in. It'd be great. Sebastian Barton. Click record, talk away, and when you're done, hit stop, and simply save it and email/share it to paladinolive@yahoo.com, paladinolive@yahoo.com. I will then convert it into an MP3 file thanks to Zumzar.com. Bada bing, bada boom. It's always a wonderful thing. Always greatly appreciated. You'll be on the air with me just like Matt Martin was today, and he will be again. With that said, enjoy the postseason. Hope for the best going forward into the draft and free agency, and hope this team can make the right decisions once and for all, and finally something wonderful happens to this franchise. That's the other reason to be sticking around, because the hope that one day we'll get that ultimate payoff, like Eagles fans got in 2017, like Saints fans got in 2009. Why am I even bringing that up? Ugh. But just any team that has suffered for so long, maybe the Buffalo Bills this year, that has suffered for so long. The Chiefs, how they struggled every year, except for 1969. See, there's another one. It keeps coming back to us again in a negative way. But so many teams that waited for so long for their championship, and they finally got it, this and that. Hopefully, there's always that hope that someday, some year, the river, the purple tears of joy will be flowing like rivers down the streets in early February. We'll see. We wait for that day, and we're still waiting right now for yet another year. Talk to you next week, and go Buffalo Bills.